Very good morning also to you. Good afternoon, and of course, good evening. First of all, how are you all doing? All doing well?
Doing
Super,
great.
fantastic.
Absolutely. Yes.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Super. I'm very happy to hear that. So, look, first of all, it's so wonderful to see you all here today. And again, look, what a show up, and of course, interest for this masterclass. I'm honestly humbled by such a turnout, and also, of course, the enthusiasm that I can see from you guys. So, first of all, I'd like to say a very big thank you for joining. And look, you don't know that I've been making social media content for such a long time already, and you get to enjoy. I guess we get to enjoy each other through our interactions online, right? I post stuff, you engage, you send me DMs, I respond to you, but we really haven't had an opportunity where we can really engage with each other live, which we're basically doing today. And so which I'm super happy about, and I hope we can also do this much more. I've been wanting to organize a session like this for a while, and with you all guys. But you can imagine teaching, doing research, traveling, writing a book, having life events happen to you, and oh yeah, let's not forget, making social media content on a daily basis. You can get pretty busy. So I've been pretty busy up to now, but now let's say that the book writing, which was of course a very huge chunk of my time, is out of the way. I actually wanted to take this opportunity today to organize this kind of masterclass on red flags and green flags that you now all know about, as a way to connect more deeply with you, and of course to engage with you beyond the 15-second videos that I normally post on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook. Now, another reason I guess why am I doing this masterclass is because I really feel that the modern day psychologist persona and brand, I think, really has evolved into what I want to call MDP, modern day psychologist version 2.0, where version 1.0 was much more about those 8 words of wisdom, where I, as a behavioral psychologist, will give you a unique way of how to see the world and also how to see your problems, to really bring it to the next level of growing and personal development, and of course healing, where I provide you the tools and the discussions, the science, and but also the guidance and support to really become the best version of yourself. And kind of my bigger hopes, of course, to make this world a better place. So I think this version 2.0 has to be more interactive, more personal, and I think we need to go much more deeper. And that's why one of the initiatives to make 2.0 a reality is to do things such as this masterclass. So how does that sound, first of all? Are you excited about it today?
Yeah, great.
Super. Amazing. I am super excited. Amazing. I'm super
Sounds
excited.
amazing. Definitely.
Sorry, say it again.
Excited. Sounds amazing.
Super. I'm excited, and kind of like I said, I feel this is kind of the next level, right? I need to bring that next level to what I want to do and integrate more of what I do, like not just on the videos, but about what I do in my life, to be able to provide, on an online setting perspective. So before I get started, guys, what I would like to do is just kind of briefly introduce you to two of the team members that are here today with me. First of all, Malin, who's here with me. Just do a quick wave, Malin. Yeah, and she's our tech whiz, and also our community lead with the new 2.0 version of MDP. And I also have Win, who's a community manager for me.
Hi, team.
Hi, Win, who also helps to think of how we can create a much more wider community and go much more deeper, and to also support me with this initiative. And they'll be in the back. They'll be able to kind of also answer things, or maybe give me a heads up if something does come up that I don't see maybe in the chat. And then we'll make it a collaborative session today. Let's say it like that. Very good. Before we get started, guys, I think most of us already know what it is, but I'd like to start kind of with the ground up, that everyone knows what a red flag and a green flag is. So let's start with the red flags. First of all, red flags are warning signs that indicate potential problems, unhealthy behaviors, or negative patterns in relationships, career situations, or other kind of personal interactions. So it's not just the single behaviors, but also we have to sometimes look at the patterns of behavior to kind of see, wait a minute, maybe this is something we need to look into a little bit further, and not just run away, right? A lot of us sometimes run away when we see a red flag. Something that I also talk about in my social media, in my book as well. Let's not always run away, because maybe that running away can be a reflection of something else. student. So, kind of examples of red flags are controlling behavior, lack of respect, dishonesty, manipulation, or kind of like a consistent disregard for your boundaries. And I know a lot of people, that last one especially, that do that. But green flags, on the other hand, are kind of, the positive indicators of healthier behaviors and also healthy dynamics. One of my favorite indicators or definitions of green flags is growth potential. I love growth potential because when you see a red flag in somebody, again, we not only bring our good sides to the relationship, but we also bring our developmental spaces. We all have developmental spaces, right? That we bring to the relationship. And falling in love with somebody doesn't only mean falling in love with their good sides. It also means falling in love with the parts that they need to still grow in. And you can be that reflection back to a partner. And if they grow and show potential of growth, that is for me a huge green flag, even if initially their behavior is a red flag. So growth potential, I think, is super important and also a great way of thinking of a green flag. And finally, also mutual respect. So some examples are open communication, emotional intelligence, kindness, accountability, and of course, respect, right? So that's kind of how we differentiate between the red and the green flags. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about how red and green flags evolved. Why have they become such a big thing in today's world? Well, actually, it started in the dating scene. And I think a lot of us here today can all kind of recognize what I'm going to tell you right now. But, we all kind of agree that dating apps are pretty terrible. And I'm going to dive into the psychology of dating apps a little bit later, but these dating apps are not there to help you to find love, ladies and gentlemen. Let me help you away from that reality. They're not there to help you to find love. They're there to fill up the pockets of shareholders, and they're there to make you addicted and hooked to the apps. And we're going to go much more into the psychology of things in a second so that you can know how to overcome that addiction cycle with these wonderful apps. So people getting frustrated with the dating world because of the dating apps. And because of these dating apps, also the science is very clear about this. People are showing much more toxic behaviors. There's more anonymity. There are more people that kind of feel like, hey, ease of use, so I can also ease of use on you as well. And so people are getting really upset with, how people are being treated. And, you put a lot of money, time, and effort into dating. And of course, you want to date with a specific purpose. But if things don't work out for you, you really want to know clearly, hey, is this a red flag or a green flag? And what should I do early on? Because taking the right steps early on in that dating process or with friends, whatever, can prevent a lot of drama down the line. Now, I think what Diana was saying, I love that. Why do I keep on getting hurt? What do I need to learn from this, right? So where red flags and green flags are coming from. And I think we as people are getting much more educated thanks to social media. And I think more and more people are becoming more aware, like, okay, where can I improve? What do I need to know more about how to improve myself, right? So that's where kind of that red flag analogy is also helping a lot of people as well, that perspective. And my favorite one is dating is like going to a job interview, but just with cocktails. I love that description of dating. So people are getting tired of it. Like, why am I investing so much time in this? It's like, where is the one that I need to find, right? In that perspective. So this is one of the major reasons now that, this kind of red flags and green flags have started to become so popular. But also we live in a world that is so dramatically changing so quickly. And we're also heralded for making good, quick decisions, right? So we need to have the red and green flags to help us to make the right decisions quickly in the right moment. So since the dating scene, of course, we all know it moved from there. It has further evolved then into romance and marriage and, of course, long-term relationships. But then eventually moved it more into friends and family, and then eventually into colleagues. And if you Google red flags and green flags everywhere, every big Time magazine, online videos is all about it nowadays. And honestly, when I started to understand how popular this phenomenon was, there was so much depth that was missing that was one of the reasons why I decided to write the book and give people really the true answers, but also more importantly, give them a process to also help them to improve their thinking, because sometimes red and green flags can also hold us back and trip us up as well, right? Well, we'll get into that in a second. So let me ask you, what are some of the benefits of working with red and green flags? What are some of the benefits of working with red and green flags? Let's see what you guys come up with. Nadina?
Hi, I think one of the benefits is it makes you more capable to deal with different type of people, and to really train your patient and learn how to deal with type of different people's red flags, green flags, and make you at the end really capable and more resilient. Yeah.
Beautiful. You're hitting the nail right on the head. You're giving the answers. Also, the science shows us, right? Can make us more resilient. Make us also, what I really love that you said, it can also, if we use the red flags right, it can actually make us more enduring with people and not just run away when we see a red flag. So I love that. Thank you. Great answers over there. Let's go to Paul Roberts, Catherine, and then Anna.
So I think that in general, working with red flags and green flags helps us when we really need to make decisions, to categorize information and to be able to discriminate between which one is a go, which one is no go. Yeah, not per se that red is bad, but what fits our context the best. Huh?
Yeah.
Because every flag has its advantages, its disadvantages in the same time, but we have to sum up what is then the best for us in the current context.
Exactly. I like that. And also, like, what you're actually saying with that is you're saying that red and green flags are extremely subjective to the individual, but also subjective to the context that we're actually in, right? That's also a great way of explaining that. I'm going to go much more deep into that, but I love that, because then you have to ask yourself cognitively, what is influencing what I see here, right? And then, we now, as grown-ups, I call it our iOS system, right? The initial programming of our brain. We have schemas and mental models that help us to process information really rapidly. And so once we have these lenses, how we look at the world, with that also influences what we see as a red and a green flag, but we're not always right. And I think that's, if we were perfectly right, then we would always come up with the right answers here, but unfortunately that's not the case. But I love that, what you added there. Thank you so much. That was a great perspective.
Welcome.
Yeah. Catherine, and then Anna.
I think kind of like what Nadine and Robert said, it really comes down to, discernment, and how to kind of adjust that, I know, bullshit detector, for lack of a better word.
It is.
and yes, I do agree that it's very situational. Just kind of talking from my personal life or my professional life. I used to work frontline where I was working with a lot of volume. There were a lot of crisis situations. And sometimes I really only had 30 seconds to make, that judgment call. And having that good gut instincts based on experience has really, got my clients out of a lot of situations. But I do agree that, we need to kind of know when to kind of slow down and kind of challenge any kind of unconscious bias that might be seeping in. And I think in terms of, like dating, like you said, when you're dealing with different people or when you're networking, when you're in the workplace, there are moments where I'm like, okay, I'm getting this feeling. Is it because this person is reminding me of my ex because they are my ex? Or are there just certain things that I just kind of need to be mindful of, where this person can be really great when it comes to presenting work together, but maybe I just have to be a little more careful in terms of sharing more personal information. So
lessons to be learned, right? In that perspective. Super. Excellent. Thank you for that one, Catherine. And then let's go to Anne, and then finally Ty.
I kind of think that everything that I wanted to say is kind of summed up right now, because I also wanted to say that working with red and green flags is only beneficial if you learn from it. If you kind of know when those red flags are really red and when you can avoid them. For instance, if you have worked with someone and you've seen that person or that group is not for me, to just avoid them in the future. And also kind of with manipulative people, those who try to kind of, get on the social level and then to manipulate with you. I think that personally for me, it kind of helped me to set boundaries, because I didn't know that. And I kind of learned it from being surrounded with those people.
Right. And sometimes, that's part of life. Life teaches you sometimes really hard lessons, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, then the question is, can we learn from those lessons? Or like what Diana was saying, we fall back into the same patterns of behavior, and then find ourselves trapped into that perspective. And You know, and I think what you also said is like you kind of indicated that some red flags are redder than others, right? Maybe it's just an indicator, oh, wait a minute, let me watch out. But sometimes, and this is interesting because often people think every single red flag means I need to run away. No, not at all. I think there's very minimal number of red flags that really, you know, when we talk about abuse and other really, really bad behavior, we should run without a doubt. But, you know, there are so many red flags, and I'll come back into that later. But in the book, I also talk about red being an acronym and helping us to reflect and go deeper and not just run away. And sometimes red flags can also not just be a reflection of somebody else's behaviors, but can also be a reflection of ours. So thank you for that one. Last one, then I have to move on. Ty, go ahead. You just need to unmute, Ty.
All right, can you hear me? Okay. Well, building on, excuse me.
Of course.
A
lot's been said already, so
getting to know yourself through experiences, through dating, all that. You know, I mean, your tolerance level, what, you know, building on what you will or won't tolerate, you know, just getting to know yourself, building your self-awareness.
Right. And that's the benefit of it, right? Exactly.
Right, yes, the benefit of it. Right.
Okay. Excellent. I'm going to hold it there for the question so I can quickly move on. Hold your thoughts there, and we'll come back to that in a second. So again, I think the reason why red flags and green flags have become such a popular phenomenon in today's world is because we live in such a fast-paced world, right? Really dynamic, with dynamic social interaction. That's very complex, and we need to kind of cut through the crap, as they say, and be able to come up with quick answers that are right, that help us. And we're heralded. Look in the workplace. We're all heralded from coming up with, you know, the right answer quickly. And I think, again, it trips us up, but we need to do it at the same time. So, you know, that's why red and green flags are there, as long as we have the right red and green flag answers. Hence, you know, the book coming up with that. And of course, the videos. But let me share some of the science with you. I think that's also very important as well. So, and I think some of you have kind of already given the ideas and the kind of answers that science says as well, why red and green flag identification is such a good thing. First of all, it enhances our psychological well-being. You know, when we know that we can come with good answers and kind of...
Adică se pot pune și trufe?
Yeah, okay, excellent. And then enhances our well-being, but also it can also create healthier relationships, such as, for example, setting boundaries with people and people understanding, wait a minute, oh, that person indicated to me that I have to take distance, or, you know, I shouldn't be over pushing what I need to do. So that's really important, right? So well-being, enhancement, and healthier relationships. The science also shows that it helps us to set boundaries, to prioritize self-respect, and also as a way to avoid manipulation so that we can identify, wait a minute, that behavior is not right. I'm trying to speak to you as an individual and tell you what's bothering me about this relationship, and you're not listening to me. And therefore, you know, you're trying to push me away, or you're trying to gaslight me. I don't accept that behavior. And so it makes you kind of, you know, even though you might be emotionally connected to someone, it helps you to rationally distance yourself from that perspective, right? Actually, if we dive into the neuroscience, right, it kind of helps to kick in that kind of, you know, prefrontal cortex to be more rational about yourself, and also distance yourself emotionally when you have to make better decisions. And then also last one that I mean, there's many more, but another one that I want to mention here, it also helps to prevent toxic patterns of behavior. You identify them soon, it helps to prevent those patterns from evolving. It reinforces your self-esteem when you know that you can make good decisions in the moment of things. And as it was already said here, it helps you to build that emotional resilience. So there's a lot of positivity around using red and green flags in today's world. But, you know, as was also being mentioned, we as human beings just have this natural tendency to want to, you know, label something as a red flag the moment that we don't like something about anyone. Do you agree with that? Oh, I don't like that person. Yeah, you're a red flag. Don't like that behavior.
You're right.
Exactly. Or like, oh, my ex didn't give me enough attention. He's a narcissist. Everyone's a narcissist nowadays on social media. Please.
You are right.
From, you know, if you really want to know the prevalence of narcissistic personality disorder, it's anywhere between, according to various studies, between 0 to 6% prevalence in the global population, depending on which study you're looking into. But, you know, the good thing I want us all to be aware of is that we all have narcissistic traits to some degree. but not everyone has these traits to a pathological degree, right? So that's something that you need to be aware of. Not everyone is a narcissist. He doesn't give you or she doesn't give you attention. He or she is not a narcissist, right? I know you like to call them that way, but that's not the case. Oh, I don't like that behavior. She's so toxic. Who's heard that one before, right? Okay, she's so toxic, right? We've heard that one before many times. No, you're not toxic. You just don't like something about their behavior. Not everyone is immediately toxic in that perspective, right? And then also, my boss told me off on Zoom in front of everyone. Oh my God, she traumatized me. I feel so bad for you, but trauma means something very different that is being told off, on Zoom. So I think we pathologize a lot of things nowadays on social media, and I think social media reinforces that. So I think this is where we need to be a little bit more skeptical and a bit more critical about how we actually use red flags in our day-to-day life. This also brings me to the disadvantages of labeling things as a red flag too soon. First and foremost, we already know that it can trip us up, right? It can lead to biased decision making, and it can also distort our perception of reality. And if we just label everything as a red flag the moment we don't like somebody, especially when we see so many options online and on dating apps, we don't really want to take the time and work on ourselves. We're so easy to blame other people and therefore call out a red flag in somebody. Another really, really big problem, and I highlight this in all my videos and all my content, is that calling out a red flag too quickly in somebody actually hurts your ability to deal with difficult and challenging situations, right? If we want to build stronger relationships with people, we have to be able to deal with difficult situations down the road. And unfortunately, using green flags or red flags too quickly actually hurts your ability. And like a muscle, it gets weaker over time if you don't strengthen that muscle, right? And that's why a lot of people can't deal with relationships anymore. It takes such a long time to have an emotional connection with everybody, right? We'll dive more into the psychology of that as well. Anyone else? So what are some of the common red flags that we actually see in today's world? So yeah, not listening to you in dating, right? So not listening to you is a big thing. Always talking the whole time. Controlling behavior, impolite, being disrespectful. Frequent jealousy a little bit is, to some extent, can't always call that a red flag, but like frequent jealousy, possessiveness is something you need to watch out for, right? And maybe it's often a reflection of other things that are happening in the individual itself. Gaslighting and manipulation, we all know, is a very, very big thing. Stay away from that as much as possible. Excessive secrecy, you don't have to open up immediately from day one who you are, what you do, but excessive secrecy is also not really good for a relationship. Unresolved past relationships, as Diana was just mentioning, very true as well. Lack of empathy and emotional availability, I think that's becoming an increasingly big problem, and I'll tell you more. I think also technology is also playing a huge role in people's inability to be empathetic to other people. So I don't think by default more people are, just our circumstances and environment are making us less so. But past experiences can also have an important impact there. And also, lastly, like avoiding commitment. A lot of people, want to date because they want to be together with somebody. And so that food for thought is, in a traditional world, like in traditionally sense, it makes sense that we dated for one purpose, but I actually believe in today's world, we are dating much more, dating has become much more practicing for divorce than actually practicing for marriage, right? And I also mentioned that in the book. Maybe we've seen that online as well, but today's world seems like we're not dating to marry anymore. We're dating to divorce. We're only there to break up with each other and, replace someone with somebody else, etc. So I think that is something that is changing in today's zeitgeist, that, dating is losing its traditional value of trying to marry someone. And it's much more, how quickly can I replace you? So I'll kind of go deeper into this because I think it's really interesting. Like, let's take the 1950s. I love to see like these old examples of how dating was in the past. Now, how was dating in the past, right? Dating in the past was, oh, we're dating, or we're engaged and we're married. And if it was anything else, it was complicated. You remember those days? It was complicated. And sure, people were having affairs and whatnot, but it was just complicated. Hell, ladies and gentlemen, 2024, things have changed radically, right? So now we have all these different relationship formats. For those people that don't know what they are, I'm going to go through them one by one because these are the relationship forms and connections that people have nowadays. So you have companionship. By the way, it goes from kind of like a level of connection, emotional connection, all the way to a level of physical intimacy. So companionships, booty calls, and they do call it. That's the only word I can give for it now. That's a relationship status. I don't want to say it, but F buddies, friends with benefits, situationships, consensual, non-monogamous relationships, aka the open relationship, as they like to call that in science, and also the relationships, and also maybe there's somewhere in between is something. Being exclusive is also the new thing nowadays as a relationship status. Now, dating apps, and I think I've had a separate session a couple of months ago that I went into explaining how how these dating apps are actually created and how they use behavioral psychology, my field of expertise, to basically hook you and make you psychologically addicted. And that's what, of course, dating apps, all apps, social media apps, they're so good at it. They know exactly how to trigger you and whatnot. So that's something that they do very well. Fun fact, I also mentioned in the book that 20% of the swipe-based dating users, so dating like Tinder, can't let go of their app even after meeting someone. So people that have gone into a relationship, aka committed relationship, 20% of people go back to the app, specifically on swipe-based applications, because they're hooked to their application. Is that crazy? Right? 20%. Can you imagine meeting someone and then 1 out of 5, crazy, right? Yelena? Exactly. 1 out of 5 decides and says, hey, you know what? I'm out of here and I can't let go of my app. Dating apps create this illusion that there's a limitless supply of potential partners. Ladies and gentlemen, I highlighted, it is an illusion, right? It is an illusion. They're not real. And actually what the science shows is that we're more lonelier and more dissatisfied now that we have more options to our availability. Maybe we should go back in time when we had limited options available. It's so funny, right? I had a conversation with a friend of mine from Argentina. He says, it's fascinating. He said, I come from a town of 2,000 people, and my best friends have found love in that town of 2,000 people. So maybe kind of limiting the options, and made potential partners can actually be a better way of finding love eventually down the road. Now, dating apps also make you see people as options, also other apps like WhatsApp. Therefore, we lose that emotional connection with people because we have all the information. We know what they like, what their interests are, their characteristics, etc. We don't really feel that connection anymore. And because we can block someone easily, we don't see people as a person, we feel less empathy. Now, another reason why we are feeling less empathetic, and also I've seen this, I've already created a video around this, why we as an individual are feeling less. Have you ever had that? Why am I not feeling anything anymore? You don't specifically have to have a mental health disease or an issue, underlying issue for that to happen. It can be very much our environment. We're overworked, overwhelmed, uncertainty. But the overusage of social media and mobile apps can actually also make you feel less. So digital detoxes, ladies and gentlemen, is needed once in a while. And lastly, kind of very disturbing, the design of dating apps actually make people misbehave. So think of anonymity. Ease of use means ease of use of a person as well. So also that in the design of things, and guess what? Algorithms have been created on purpose for you to value people differently and to maybe even mistreat other people, right? So the underlying algorithms also play a huge impact on how you treat other people as well. So this is good to know. And again, I'm going to share with you another scary fact. I have the references down below. Swipe-based dating apps users experience more mental health issues, and I'm going to explicitly mention what they mentioned in this study: anxiety, depression, and there was one thing else, anxiety, depression, something else, versus those who don't use it, right? So people that are on, and again, is it a correlation? Don't know if it's a causation in this case, but there's a clear relationship between those people that use swipe-based dating apps and mental health issues, right? And generally, there is a correlation, high correlation between feeling negative emotions and mobile phone usage. I know that a lot of you that are on my platform use social media and the dopamine as a quick pain release of your emotional distress and whatnot, but it's not the best way to overcome the pain. It's like the painkiller. It's building our social, capacity that actually makes us to deal much better with difficult situations. Now, another thing that we see in the dating world, unfortunately, dating apps have propagated all of these major trends around the world. I speak about this, and I think a lot of people now more and more, because of the videos, now know what this means or have read the book. But ghosting, we all know what ghosting is. Oh, know what ghosting is? Excellent. Just raise your hands up if you don't know what it is. Zombieing. Do you know what zombieing is? Everyone know what zombieing is? Yeah.
No, can you, when there's a chance, can you maybe elaborate the words?
Absolutely. I think I see Miss Carrebo has a hand up as well. So yeah, and Maria. So zombieing. So after you've been ghosted, so someone ghosts you, and then they come back into your life after 1 year, and it's like, hey, we haven't spoken in a while. Like, where were you the last year? Oh, I don't know. I lost the recharger for my mobile phone, but now I found it. How you doing? Right. So they eventually, like a zombie, they come back into your life again. Does that make sense? I didn't come up with these names, right? Okay. Cookie jarring. I love this one. So cookie jarring is like you put a cookie in a jar and you keep someone there and you kind of keep them until you want to be with them. And often people are already in a relationship and they kind of keep you away and then they'll kind of cookie jar you. They'll eat your cookie. Well, sorry, I say that. That's a bit weird. Eat your cookie, but you know what I mean, right? So they go for you when they want to have a bite of you, let's say. Orbiting is, the people that you start dating, but they don't reply to your text messages anymore, but they orbit your social media. They watch your stories. That's disgusting. I hate that. It's like freaks me out. Like, why don't you just answer my freaking WhatsApp message? Stop orbiting me. So orbiting is a trend that also exists and it freaks people out, or exes orbit you as well sometimes after you break up. Pocketing or stashing, right? So basically, also pocketing and stashing is you keep you don't bring someone to the public, you don't invite them to your friends, your inner circle, often because you're already dating someone, you might have a relationship or whatnot, and therefore you pocket them, right? So you go to their house, you don't meet outside, and so pocketing and stashing, that's what it is. Kitten fishing. So you've heard of catfishing, right? Catfishing is basically giving people fake videos of you or creating a fake persona and then trying to distort them or money from them. That's catfishing. But kitten fishing is where you kind of give a picture of you from 10 years ago, right? It's like, oh, this is what I look like. And then you meet them in person, like, what was this? Who can, you tell me you had skills in freaking Photoshop. You're using pictures from the past. That's kitten fishing. Breadcrumbing. Oh, I love breadcrumbing. Like, give them little crumbs, Breadcrumbing is like, oh yeah, I like to be with you. People, narcissistic tendencies often breadcrumb. They just give you that little bits just to keep you feeling that you should be attached or as a way to create attachment. So they don't want to they just want to have you as a reserve, and they just give you enough text messages or attention for you to stay attached, and then they just go away and focus on their main priority. So breadcrumbing is a big thing, especially when we have so many options. Breadcrumbing is is a consequence of that, right? Delicate dumping. Ooh, have you heard of that one before? Delicate dumping. So delicate dumping because people, again, we can't deal with emotions, and people don't know how to, especially younger generation, they don't know how to, like, even with the workplace, they don't know how to say goodbye or have that hard conversation with somebody when something's not going right. So they slowly disassociate from themselves from that relationship. So they delicately dump. You see them once a week now, and then you see them once every 2 weeks, and it's just once a month, and then you just disappear without saying anything. So delicate dumping. Ethical cheating. God, there's even a book called Ethical Cheating, if I'm not mistaken. Or something else. No, I won't say it, but it's something with ethical in it. And ethical cheating is like cheating, but you know that I'm cheating, so I'm ethically. It is what it is. And then love bombing, of course, often a behavioral trait with people that do suffer from narcissistic personality disorder, where they actually try to create a very strong relationship with you very, very quickly. And so, and actually it comes from this feeling of, shame and feeling that they know that people don't want to stay with. It kind of comes from an insecure attachment style that has often developed in their childhood. And then they unconsciously kind of like, I want to build this quick attachment with you because I don't want to lose you. And so it can be conscious or unconscious, but love bombing often has a malicious intent to control you or coerce your behavior. And then over time, they give you these huge highs and think, wow, I've never met someone like this before. And I always say, when it feels too good to be true, it is too good to be true, right? That's just majority of the chances that that's the case. So watch out for love bombing. It can feel good, but know when to jump out if you like the intention. But love bombing is very, very bad experience. I think a lot of us maybe have experienced that before. Now, let me kind of get more deeper into the psychology of things. What are these mobile apps destroying? Look, in the good old days, You know, the 70s. We've got, Theresa here, the good old days of the 70s, right? Well, even the 50s and the 60s. Hey, when our parents dated or we dated, we had to get up, we had to get dressed, to do our hair, we had to look nice, we had to be on our best behavior. We had to build, you had to build some social skills. Come on, I know when I was a teenager, try to pick someone up in the bar. It's like, no, I'm not interested. You go, damn it. How can I do things better next time? You have to learn. That's what we had to learn. And that was all part of it. So we had to put in, I think the key word here was effort, right? Effort. But our brain neurologically is inherently lazy. So when you can do things very, very easy for the brain, it will default to the easy procedure and not think about the effort anymore. And so basically apps make things easy. I don't need to ask who you are, where you come from, and what you do and what your interests are. I know everything about you through the app. If you don't like me, it's not about, hey, let's have a conversation. It's a swipe left, it's a swipe right. I'm evaluating you purely based on the characteristics. And so therefore, relationships are becoming more transactional than actually based on really trying to get to know the other person. And I think that's one major thing why people don't want to focus anymore on wanting to be with other people, because the moment we lose the effort, the moment it's like a muscle, we lose our muscle power to deal with difficult situations, and therefore swipe left, we find someone else. There's another person that we can go to. Why should I work on myself? And before I go to Catherine, I just want to share another example of this. We're also from the behavioral science. Like also in the 50s, they knew this. They knew about this, right? They had this wonderful product called Funfetti. I don't know if you know the product, an old product in the past. And stereotypically in the 1950s, not the zeitgeist of today, but in the 1950s, what was the role of most women in the 1950s? Stereotypically. Was that
I'm taking care of kids.
Thank you very much. It was the housewife. So you wanted to feel accomplished in that role. And so when you make stuff, you want to feel that you really put things together. So Funfetti said, you know what? I'm going to make your life so much more easier. Here's a wonderful product. Just add water and you can bake a cake. Most moms were like, are you joking me? I'm not going to just put water there. I'm going to feel like an imposter syndrome. I'm going to feel like a fake. I'm going to put some more effort into this, until I like it. And then they figured out from a marketing perspective, this is just too easy, right? So then they made it a little bit more challenging. They added and measured your eggs and salt and water. And now all of a sudden, this product became a major success. So it seems that we can only appreciate things in life when we have a little bit of challenge associated with it, or we put more effort into it. And what's wonderful that in the behavioral science, specifically in the field of behavioral economics, they've come up with this construct called the IKEA effect. Now, those who have read the book, I hate IKEA. Hate it with a capital H. You see me there sitting on the ground with these pieces of wood, and it's so expensive, more expensive than actually getting a table delivered to your house. And then I have to put it together. I have two left hands, ladies and gentlemen. I like to put stuff together, but I still have a cupboard in my house that I know the back of it is still not right because I tried to put it together 3 years ago. Anyway, I'm the exception to the rule. I hate it, but a lot of people love it. And the secret sauce behind IKEA is that when people put things together and they put effort into it with their own hands, they value it subjectively more than what other people value itself. So effort and dating go hand in hand, which basically the apps have taken out of the equation in that perspective, right? And so we value things that people and situations where we actually put more effort into. So just kind of like ending on that note, and then we'll quickly move on and I'll open up the questions here. Just some food for thought. I think in today's world, we're putting so much time and effort into finding someone where I actually feel we need to spend more time into becoming the person worth finding, right? That's what I really, really believe. So let's become the person worth finding. And, I think that's a better way of the law of attraction in that perspective. Stop wasting our time when people are not wanting us. Let's put more time also sometimes in ourselves, but still be open for relationships because we can attract also as much, right? Catherine, go ahead. And then we'll have more time to have more of a debate on this. Feel free also to put it in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to address them also as they come up. Now, another thing about red flags is we also have red flags at work, right? Red flags at work also are a big thing. You can put in the chat what you feel is a red flag at work. And let me just show you also what are some key red flags in the workplace, right? What are some things that you have to watch out for? So some common red flags in the workplace, maybe you recognize this. I think a lot of us are still working. Micromanagement by a boss. Often, there's a psychological reason why people micromanage. Could be due to a lack of, skills, technical skills, trust issues, whatnot. So it's really important to understand why a boss is micromanaging you if you want to deal with that effectively. Managers will always move the goalpost. Oh, your targets are going to be here, and then 6 months later they move it away. I hate that. That's a huge red flag in that perspective. Also, managers who did respect boundaries, who don't respect boundaries, huge red flag. Oh, can you work on Sunday? Oh, can you do this? Can you do that extra as well? Huge red flag. Managers who don't care about your well-being. And I think in today's world, we need to really watch out for that, right? Well-being at work and mental health is becoming such an important factor that we need to take into consideration. And managers who don't care about that, and often, unfortunately, they just care about the profit and also about, the performance, often try to justify, not caring about your well-being. But hey, if people are not well, they're not going to perform. For employees, let's not leave the employees out. Employees that always complain, huge red flag, right? Huge red flag as a manager. Employees who don't engage. A lot of people are not that engaged in today's world, so find out how to engage them more. Employees who think only of themselves, and also employees who gossip about others, huge. And again, gossiping, there's positive gossip and there's negative gossip, but I think gossiping is really, really bad, can hurt your reputation, also can hurt your career success. And also employees that also lie a lot, don't you agree? Might also be a huge red flag. But I want to tell you something about recognize when you are the red flag. And then this is something that, when we see a red flag in someone, sometimes it can be a reflection that we are a red flag. So let me give you some examples of that. You know that I've mentioned this in my social media before. So my relationship is boring could actually be a reflection that your stable relationship you might perceive as boring because it's now making you aware of your inner chaos and your past relationships that have been extremely volatile. And you're now so used, your brain neurologically is so used to that dopamine of the volatility that now that what is stable actually feels boring to you. So no, it's not your partner's fault. It's you needing to reflect back on yourself and realize, hey, you know what? Maybe it's me that needs to change and tell you this is something that's really, really hard to change. Don't be so clingy. So have you heard that before? Don't be so clingy. Could be a red flag. Maybe some person is extremely clingy, but maybe this could reflect your own fear of intimacy or avoidance tendencies rather than their behavior being actually very problematic, right? Could be a reflection of your fear of connection. Why are you so sensitive? Maybe we've heard that in relationships before. People gaslight you, might say that to you, but it also could be you being too rude and not respecting someone's boundaries to the point that you actually make them upset and then you gaslight them for being sensitive. And it's actually you who is the one that needs to be more aware of your approach to them. And finally, you're so controlling. Maybe parents, you might think about that as well, or in a partnership or a relationship, but maybe it's your unreliability or lack of accountability that necessitates your partner to request more structure in the relationship, right? So again, multiple red flags that I could go on and on and on about them. But also I think we need to be a little bit more aware about ourselves. And don't worry if you recognize yourself in this, you're not alone. I also have my red flags that I'm also very aware of, but we need to become more aware what is kind of influencing our decision-making. Our upbringing and past experiences and even our culture also impacts us, our decision-making. Sometimes it's a situational aspect. Our mood, our biases, events, or the environment can also influence our decision-making. But sometimes it comes much more deeper. Sometimes it's the uncertainty of the world and the trauma that we've experienced that can also influence our decision-making. And what makes things even worse is that 80% of our decisions and even our consciousness, 80% of how we make decisions happens at the unconscious level, right? So only 20% of what we actually see right now, even in this session, is conscious. There's so much going in the back that influences us on what we believe is red and what we believe is green. And to become more aware, like I said, sometimes we need to put on the brakes and say, wait a minute, red, yes, it's a red flag, but maybe we need to do something with that red flag and say, let's become more aware of this, right? Can we put on the brakes? Can we become more aware of that? But that's a hard thing to do. That costs effort. And remember, the brain is lazy. It doesn't like to put in the effort. And so that's why also in the book and in my social media, I talk about red, not just as the color red, but it's also a process to help you to improve your thinking. So don't worry if you are the red flag. So red is a way to help you to slow down your thinking. So I use the acronym RED. So the next time you see a red flag, don't run away, but think of reflect, engage, and decide. Now let me put on the brakes. Why is this a red flag to me? Maybe it's me who's the red flag. Don't run away immediately, right? So RED is not just the answer, but it's an acronym, a process to help you improve your thinking so that you can become more aware and own up to when it's you are the red flag. Maria, you heading? And I'm going to talk about the big announcement is also an acronym. So how to identify green behaviors to help you think more thoughtfully about people. Green behaviors are generally behaviors that are genuine, respectful, where there's empathy, that are elevating, that make you better, but also nurturing. And the beautiful thing about green behaviors is that green behaviors, we need to also nurture green behaviors because we take green behaviors for granted. When someone treats you right, your brain says, oh, this is safe, I'm okay. Only focus on the bad behaviors. But no, if you want those green behaviors to continue, you need to reinforce them. You need to make them, you need to give them the sun and the water to keep them growing. So reinforce those behaviors. But the beautiful thing about green behaviors as well is that we can use green behaviors also to neutralize people's red behaviors. Nurturing and empathy is such a great way to help people to maybe, be more reflective and mindful of their own bad behaviors. Even in the therapeutic alliance, empathy, those core skills across those different kind of modalities like empathy, listening to someone, positive regard, etc., are really important things if you really want to help people to deal with their inner problems sometimes, right? So it's not only good to nurture other people, but also not only good to nurture the green behaviors, but also as a way to nurture other people who are dealing with red behaviors. Now, finally, the final one that I wanted to mention is we all heard the beige flag before. So the beige flag is that kind of in between the red and the green. It's kind of about pet peeves. I really love this kind of phenomenal thing of beige flags because something might annoy you, but maybe it's not really a thing to really worry about, right? Maybe it's just a beige flag. It's just a pet peeve. I love the beige flag because it helps you to reflect and say, you know what, maybe I'm the drama and I shouldn't be too bothered about this, right? So anyway, I'm just going to keep it to there. And then I'm going to open up this big announcement. So the closing words from my side. Thank you, first of all, before I do the closing announcements, thank you for going that extra hour with me. I'd really appreciate it. It means so much and also shows how much interested you are in this as well. So let me just wrap up on the closing words and I'm going to share that announcement I want to share with you. So in conclusion, at the end of this presentation, in today's digital era, mind power is everything. And we're heralded for making quick decisions. And that's why red flags and green flags are so helpful for us, right? But also making quick decisions can also trip us up and even make us mentally weaker, to which we can't deal with difficult situations anymore. And I think modern dating has become extremely challenging, where it seems we are practicing more for divorce than we're actually practicing for marriage. And if we want to change that around, we have to change the way we approach it as well. Knowing how to identify red flags at work is not only important for your career success, but also extremely important also for your mental health. I also think that the key thing, what we took away from today, is we need to also learn how to slow down our thinking to make better decisions, to get to know ourselves better, but also to get to know other people as well. And that's where the red and green are not just answers, but also are a process to help you improve your thinking. And lastly, I think modern day psychology can help you find love, be more successful in your business, and definitely help you to build much more stronger connections with other people around you. Now, before I wrap up and make the big announcement, I want you just to write down, I know we're mentally very tired right now because we've gone that extra mile, but thank you for being here. Write down that number one thing that you took away from today's masterclass. You can put that in the chat and I'll read it out. And I say that because even if you are in a session for 1 hour or 2 hours, there's only really one thing that you could really take away and really memorize. So that's why I always ask that at the end of the session. Diana says, thank you as well. Diana, Trista says, don't go yet because I do have that big announcement. The beige flag, Krista says, grateful for the masterclass. Thank you so much. Don't panic, go slow. Sarah, I love that one. Thank you. That's a major takeaway. Diana says, pick your battles. Martina says, everything. Wonderful. Muriel says, thanks for the interesting day. Night. Flags are subjective, very much so. Kerry says, learning is good to slow down and think of it all. The IKEA effect, Petro, absolutely. It is the key. If anyone is building an app, you have to have something of an IKEA effect in there, I'll tell you. Virus says, I learned new types of relationships and all were important to me. Not everything is a red flag. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Teresa says, slow down, enjoy life. I can't agree more with you. Sorry, I had to be the rushy one here today to make sure we get through this on time. But yeah, slow down. And he says, marketing and sales and HR, a big lie. I'm becoming a red flag. I love it.